let me introduce our guests also. We have Karuna Nandi has kindly agreed to stay on this discussion. We also have our other guests as well, Jitin Jain, cyber security expert. Abhishek Tripathi also stays on with us. Sameer Chaudhary is a lawyer with us, and we also have Mr. Prashant Mali. He's a cyber security expert, and Kamaljeet Singh Bedi is the Chief Technology and Product Officer of the NDTV Group. Thank you very much. Ms. Nandi, you were saying. What do you think of this?
I was saying that I think that there is a problem with the way in which this sort of purported evidence is being leaked, and in the rights in which the rights that are being violated, right? Now, keep in mind that should they ask people who are accused, people who are being investigated, people who are just being called in as witnesses to give their phones, then what they will really be, whether they know it or not, what they will be invoking is Section 69 of the IT Act primarily, which gives them a right to ask for decryption of information, including things that you think are completely private, whether they are on WhatsApp or even Signal, right? Because then if it's on your phone, if you just give them the password, then they just, then the person who gives it just opens it up. But I do think that there's a very important right here that would potentially be being violated when a witness is being browbeaten to either provide their phone or to reveal their password. And that is the Article 20, Part 3 right against self-incrimination. Section 69 is being challenged. The constitutionality is being challenged of the IT Act. And I think it's a very, very important challenge. And it will have to be read in light of the privacy judgment, yes, the 9-judge privacy judgment in Puttaswamy, but also in light of the fact that investigating agencies really have to do their own job. They can't expect to have people incriminate themselves and rely on that.
Sure. Okay. Kamaljeet Singh Bedi, I want to come to you. Mr. Bedi, how do you look at this entire discourse about the phone now revealing more about you than even you actually know, and this being potentially misused not just by investigating agency? You look at this case on how the investigation, which was supposed to ideally stay in confined to the four walls of that agency, is now on national television. I mean, personalities are being tarnished, reputations are being tarnished. These are still investigating agencies. But what about, I'm not even getting into companies like Apple or Android or any other company or apps. I'm talking about individuals should they want to misuse your phone. How easy is it?
Yeah, I think let's start with just the big picture of how much how much time we spend on our phone, what kind of information we have. So I think just in June this year, there was a report that Indians are spending more than 4 hours a day on their phone. And, the phone is the gateway to internet for us. So the phone is tracking all your internet habits, your financial data, places you shop, searches you do, all that is on your phone. When you buy something or your bank accounts, messages come on your phone as OTPs or general statements, which gives more information to the phone. So the phone actually is basically your life. If you, if you go to Facebook, take a photo, it will suggest you that let me, know your location. I can tag your photos like that. But that is giving so much information to the phone. Last year, New York Times did an article called 12 million phones, one data set, zero privacy. It's a very fascinating article. Everyone should read it. They got a dump of some 12 million phone locations in US, all anonymized, so you couldn't connect it to a person. But just some basic, big data analysis on it gave away things like how a Microsoft employee was interviewing at Amazon and got a job a month later, how people were having extramarital affairs, how people were going to shrinks. All this information can be collated out of anonymized data. Imagine if you look at my phone and you... if you see my phone location data, you will see me 12 hours, and at lockdown, days, it could be 24 hours at a particular location. So you are now connecting it that this is your home. Then you start mapping out, like you went from this location to this location. You add a layer of data, and your location, your private data, all that is on the phone. So if someone gets access to that phone through the cloud, through hacking, your cloud data or physical access to your phone, your life is out there. So I don't want to be a fear monger, but people have to realize this gateway to the internet
No,
and
but
the
these are practical
access.
things. I mean, when Kamaljeet Bedi, when we saw this documentary on Netflix called The Social Dilemma, I mean, it was the first thing I did was switch off notifications, because frankly, these apps, they mess with your head. They do all sorts of things. So what is necessary, but what isn't, you should try to do away with that. But Abhishek Tripathi, should this not be the concern of the government? A bigger concern for the government? I mean, you represent a very crucial arm of the ruling dispensation. Don't you think that this is a bigger, massive problem?
I don't think so, because, see, like I said before, I'm saying it again, it's a very important tool.
Oh, you don't think so? Okay.
Sorry?
No, you're saying you don't think this is a big problem. I'm surprised. Mr. Tripathi?
Sanket, please come again.
Okay, we're going to go back to Mr. Tripathi in just a short moment. Samir Chaudhary is also with us, and so is Mr. Prashant Mali. Samir, what do you make of this? Do you think that there are enough laws as of this moment in this country to protect us? Because, if you look at these reports that are now coming in, studies done by Harvard, studies done by, all international institutions, and they seem to suggest that we are terrible as far as cyber security is concerned. Absolutely at the rock bottom as far as securing ourselves against cyber fraud.
Sanket, it is not the question of the existing legal framework, but the enforcement of it is very important. The legal framework can be sufficient only provided if the enforcement is good enough. Even in this case, the WhatsApp chats that you're talking about and the statements, various statements that are being leaked to the media, they are part of the case diary. They are not supposed to be out in the public domain. Even the accused in a criminal trial has limited rights to access the case diary, only for the purposes of cross-examination. So it is shocking the manner in which this kind of information, which is privy only to the people who are investigating, should be there and is not even given to an accused in a criminal trial.
So this is a proper leak. It's got nothing to do with data theft. This obviously is a case of an investigation material being leaked. That's the point that you're making. So we have not been able to fix something as basic, let alone fix cyber security. Okay. Prashant Mali is also with us. Mr. Mali, would you like to come in at this moment? How does one protect ourselves, apart from, of course, advocating for greater laws, stronger laws, but within the existing framework?
So this
legal framework.
Okay. So this WhatsApp leak, what you see right now, is actually not a WhatsApp leak, but the data being there in the cloud. So you have an option of archiving the data on the cloud, or whether it's Dropbox or G Drive or iCloud, and the data for years together can be kept there. In various murder cases also, this is being used as an evidence now. And at least to instigate the witnesses or the accused, this is being used. And if this gets leaked, this gets leaked from various angles, in a legal fashion or a non-legal fashion. A police can take your device and ask for your password or forcefully and then log into this. Or
what if I were to not give my password?
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, I'm just asking. It's not like one wants to commit a crime, but what if I refuse to give my password? Is there any law in this country where I can say no?
Yes, definitely you can say no. But when suppose when you are with police, it's the larger amount of things they extract with or without your consent. That is the issue here. And either they extract
without
or
consent.
they bring.
That's the point. Suppose if this is done even by investigating agencies without consent, because we are hearing, and Jitin Jain is also with us. Jitin, we are hearing this a lot on many occasions. In fact, many senior officials of the Delhi police, also on the condition of anonymity, of course, seem to say that all you need is a phone that is connected with an email ID on an Android device. And obviously, a lot of smartphones are Android based. And you're good to go. You can enter the phone, from a remote location. You don't need physical access to the phone, and you get all the data you need. So move over end-to-end encryption of WhatsApp or videos, anything. Everything is available. You just need a phone to be paired with an email ID.
It is not that simple to say, Sanket. I mean, there are a lot of theories which are going around, but let's understand one thing very clearly. It is not a case of data, theft. It is not a case of, encryption being broken, or it is not a case of, WhatsApp being vulnerable. It is a very simple standard case of your electronic devices being seized by an investigation agency. They created a forensic backup of it, which is called preservation of evidence. And while creating that forensic backup, they have not only taken a backup of your data on your device, but also your cloud backups. Now, coming to the WhatsApp chats, I mean, they could have retrieved in many ways, simply by opening their WhatsApp, if they had given their phone physically and their WhatsApp keylog if there was any. Second would have been through the device backup, because WhatsApp also gives a local backup on the device, or maybe through cloud backup. In all the three processes, if NCB had the phone and if the user had given the consent, they would be able to take it out. It is as simple as like you giving your mobile phone and I using your Facebook or WhatsApp. It is logged in, right? The problem would have been if the user would not have given his mobile phone, if they've taken it out without consent remotely or something. So this is not a case of hacking or anything or making encryption. So let's understand one thing very clearly. Now, there may be a larger issue of consent or not giving passwords, but agencies have many other ways. Once they have a search and seizure warrant, I am sure there are many other ways, even if a user is not willing to, I mean, one user might say, I've forgotten the password, there are ways to bypass those things. But once they have the physical device, I think almost anything and everything is possible.
Okay, Kanwaljit, I remember while we were preparing for this broadcast, you seemed to refer to an article, I think in the US, where the law suggests that you can say no to giving your password of your phone because that stays in your memory, but the authorities can rightfully claim for your fingerprint or your face ID, because that is data which you have shared. So do you think it's that level of detail to which data sharing goes to?
Sure, I think Karuna and Prashant may be able to say more about the laws in India. I had in passing read about the Fifth Amendment in US, which is similar to India's self-incriminating law, that you shouldn't be self-incriminating, right? So phones, because they are almost an extension of your own life, in a way can incriminate you if you actually give it and then give away the password to open it. I think the debate that I read about was that earlier it used to be passwords which are numbers, right? Or you have a long password, so you enter the number and you can enter it. So this is protected in US, and again, Karuna can mention how it works in India. But in US, because the phones have the other way to have access, which is your fingerprint or your face ID these days, those were not protected because those are not in your brain. You are not saving it. It's physical access. So courts were forcing people that if it is through physical access like Face ID or your thumbprint, that's allowed. I think that was the case law there. India could be different, but it comes down to, in this particular case, I think voluntarily people are opening their phones for agencies to look through. And once you've given away your phone, and your password, like Jiten says, everything is accessible, including probably deleted data, which forensically you can pick out. If there's a WhatsApp chat from 2017 that you may have deleted, it's quite possible that it can be retrieved even if you have been deleted it from your phone.
Sure. Okay, Abhishek Tripathi very quickly, and then Karuna Nandi. Abhishek Tripathi, the fact that investigating agencies have the right to, through the course of their investigation, look at this data, right? But for it to come out in this form for a media trial, to be showcased throughout channels of communication, electronic communication, do you think this is wrong? This is illegal, and as Dilip Tahil was saying, in some cases even a violation of human rights.
No, I don't believe in this. I stick to my stand. There are so many superstar actors and actresses who leak their own photos in various ways. They call press photographers to the airport for an airport look. We create all sort of drama to be in publicity. all good publicity, mind you, publicity of the film, their personal publicities, any fashion shows that they're doing. They do everything.
No,
and
one
everything
moment.
is
How
there
can
in
this
media.
justify a leak of
let me come to that.
investigation material?
I understand. But how else the world would know? How would anybody come to know who's doing what? The youth icons of crores of people.
By investigation. By carrying out an
never-
investigation and presenting this proof in the court, not in the media.
No.
Isn't that
No,
the
no,
right way?
No. See, if we are talking ethical, there's so many things which should come in the in the.
Of course, I will talk ethical.
Absolutely. Then ethical
surely I'm
is
talking
that
ethical.
she should not have procured and have not asked for the drugs that she asked for, and all these things would not have happened if that's the ethical, because she's an icon to crores of people and youngsters.
She's gonna be called in for questioning, and let's not second guess. We will soon know. The investigating agencies are going to do their job. Karuna Nandi, my apologies as we've run out of time, but this was an important discussion to have, at least in the context of these leaked chats and privacy on your phone is concerned. Thank you very much to all of you for joining us.